Let's talk about goal planning in different seasons of motherhood. Because to be honest, the typical goals that you get from, the productivity gurus about goal planning doesn't necessarily work super great in motherhood. And part of the reason why is because we have so many different seasons and experiences that we go through that changes how we're functioning in our day to day.
Hi, I'm Jessica Jackson, and this is the new way to thrive in motherhood by leaning into who you are, what you love, your unique family situation, and personal mission to create a life that you actually want to live. I want to invite you to join me in saying no to the life of the exhausted supermom, burnout, victim thinking, being pulled in so many directions, suffering through survival mode, or being lost in motherhood, and say yes to building strong families and moving forward on our greatest goals in order to create a fulfilling life that we are excited to wake up to each day and become a soaring mother. This is the Thriving in Motherhood podcast. I want to just take a moment and let you know about something free that I've created just for you. It's the 5-step path from surviving to thriving checklist. It is a beautiful document that will help you figure out exactly where you are on that path from surviving to thriving and know what to focus on in each phase of that path so that you can feel that joy and confidence no matter what season of motherhood you are in. You can get it today at thrivinginmotherhoodpodcast.com/checklist.
So I just finished talking with mothers in Soaring Mother Society, and I've been meeting with moms this is our 4th year now with Soaring Mother Society going, and in all different seasons of, during this time, I've met with moms in all different seasons of motherhood, from the, brand new first baby, that exhausted 1 year and under phase. And then you've got moms with the toddlers, 2 or 3 kids, 6 and under. And so you've got the baby, preschool, toddlers, and that's just such a busy time with lots of high energy. And then you've got the moms where you've got kids either in school or homeschooling, different activities. Things are starting to get really busy and full with the schedule. And then we move into even the empty nester phase, where your kids are growing up and they're leaving home. So when we talk about goal setting, there's different considerations in each one of those 4 phases that I want to share with you, broken down some of the mistakes that I see and what works well in those different phases, as some guiding principles. And then there's things just to apply to us all the time as moms that we're going to end with. So stay to the end there. And also I'm going to be announcing something brand new that we're getting started. I would love for you to be part of it, that you can check at the end. Everything's going to be timestamped so you can find the part that is most applicable to you and you can get what you need out of this episode. So starting out, let's talk about those postpartum early years when you've got a little baby, and the days are hard because you are in survival mode. Like, the circumstances are bigger than you. Now, so this set of principles really works well in those survival seasons, whether it's you're in a hard pregnancy, you're postpartum, you are not sleeping at night, and then you just have the lack of predictability in your schedule, right? Like, days are unpredictable and there is a lot that's being asked of you right now. And chances are it's a lot of things being asked from you that you've never done before, especially if this is your first time being mom, or if it's just, you've got 2 and under, 3 and under. This is the first time that you're doing all of those things, and it is a lot of work and a lot of skills to learn that are just coming at you. And so when it comes to setting goals, it can be kind of overwhelming to be like, let's run a marathon this year. You're like, I just am trying. I don't even know how to take care of myself, right? Like, we're just trying to make it through the day. The other thing that's kind of comes out during this time, though, is we're put under more pressure than we've ever been put under before. At least I was. And I found that I was not as nice of a person as I thought I was. I mean, I was, a lot grumpier towards my husband or, some of the people around me. Maybe I was more negative than I thought I was. I thought I was an optimistic person, but all of a sudden I'm kind of negative and not as fun as I used to be. And so there can be this really big disconnect between who we are and who we want to be, which is actually a great thing to recognize and own, because this is a fantastic type of goal to set during these hard seasons. So when it is hard to do and set these big goals about doing more, because in those hard survival seasons, to ask yourself to do more and do more consistently, which is what a lot of goals typically require, is a lot. In fact, probably too much in many circumstances. And so what we can do instead is set goals about who we want to be. Now, this is going to be unique for everybody, but the nice thing is that this is something that is in your circle of influence. You can't control when the baby sleeps, or how many times you're up at night, or how your body recovers or experiences pregnancy. But you can work on strengthening your own, we call it getting strong on the inside in my house. You were getting strong on the inside by how you respond to situations and how you choose to behave even when things are really hard. And this builds character. This is actually a wonderful thing, even though it feels really hard. Now, and I would say this is really important because the other alternative is you're just aimlessly being blown along through your days. If you don't have anything that you're holding on to that you're trying to become better at, except like literally everything I know. But at the same time, like even when you've got everything coming at you that's brand new, it's so much that it almost feels aimless and purposeless to be trying to figure out how to nurse a baby and take showers and keep the house clean and do laundry and dishes and all the things. So having said that, we need something that you are progressing towards, something that you can claim as your own, something that you do have control over, something in your circle of influence. And so something you always have in your circle of influence, which is why I love this when I'm in survival seasons, is who are you going to be? And so you can kind of set that as your goal. Now, when I worked through this Create Your Vision Challenge, which if you have not created your vision for the year, you can learn more about that in an episode I did about the number one thing every mom needs to do. You can also go to thrivingandmotherhoodpodcast.com/vision, and you can sign up for the Create Your Vision mini course with a PDF to go through it, or it's also in the Thriving Motherhood Planner, built into there with the course that you get as part of purchasing the planner. But as you work through this, so if you're a mom going through that Create Your Vision section, in those survival seasons, what I recommend, and what we just talked through in the Soaring Mother Society with some of the moms in there in that season, baby year, under a year, I would say, is you reflect on your year. You do that. That's the very first thing we do. We reflect on the year before, because reflecting helps you, one, see things as they really are. That's way better than you thought it was. I promise. Like that was. Every time. It doesn't matter who's doing it or when they're doing it, whether it's me or any of these moms I've talked to or worked with over the years, it always is better and surprising when we do this exercise. So you do that because you also want to be creating your vision from a place of reality and celebrating and feeling good about what just happened. And that happens 10 out of 10 times, I would say. And then it helps you get some clarity about what also is mattering to you or where some of those gaps are that you want to fill in. So, for example, one of these incredible moms on the call who was in this season said that she just wants to be a light. That is all she did. She reviewed the year, imagined the possibilities a little bit, kind of brain dumped. And for her, what came out of that was the word and her focus for the year. Now, if you've looked at the Create Your Vision mini course, there is, and the worksheets or in the Thriving Motherhood Planner, there is a lot of exercises in there. This isn't necessarily the season for you. If you look at them and you're like getting excited, fantastic. If you look at them and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't even know. Just ignore them until later. You can always come back to them. There's no pressure to do them right now or at a certain time of the year. And instead, you're going to just go to creating just write on their vision page or to your quarterly goal section page and just say that, who do you want to be? And for her, she wanted to be a light because she realized she needs that for herself first, just to start inside of her, feeling like there's light and hope inside of her. She wants that to grow as she continues to, make progress in this area in her life, grow, expand to, being a light in her own home with her own family, her husband, her child, and then go out from there. So that's it. That's goal setting for her that year. And there's a lot of, tactical things that's also happening. But if you're in that season, keep it so simple. Give yourself a word, give yourself a direction. That's your vision. And that's going to be enough for now. It doesn't have to be big and elaborate and exciting. Actually, it is all three of those things. But it doesn't have to be a SMART goal with a specific time frame and a specific project and something that you can see and measure and keep track of. It doesn't have to be that. This is plenty. This is going to get something that you can get excited about, something you can see progress in, something that's yours, something that's going to help guide you in your day-to-day moments. And that is enough in those survival seasons. In fact, that is superb in those survival seasons. It was so inspiring for me to hear. So the next season that we want to talk about is when you've got you're a mom with multiple young children at home, one or two, but you're out of those, like maybe totally surviving those newborn year, that baby under 1 year, and now you've got multiple children at home, probably 6 and under. What does the goal setting look like in that season? Now, I would say there's a couple of common mistakes that I see and that I experienced as well in this, which is you've got so many ideas, you don't even know where to start. That's one. Or what's also very common is like coming out of these survival seasons, you're like, I want to get stuff done. And so you come up with a long list, you start trying to get through that list. And sometimes it can feel like, if the kids don't nap when they're supposed to, that they're getting in the way, and life can start getting out of balance when getting things done just becomes more important to you than having the kids around. Like, it just feels out of balance, and you can start getting frustrated, and you're like, oh, I don't want to be mad at you because you're my child. And anyway, so there's all this like up and down emotions that comes in these years when you're still trying to figure things out, when they're not totally independent yet. Like in any area of life, you're still helping put on shoes and feed everybody and make sure everyone gets dressed, and you're still trying to coordinate nap times, and you're trying to train quiet time because they haven't figured that out yet if they stop napping. So there's just a lot of logistics still in these early years. So what do goals look like? Okay, so lots of projects could possibly be your thing. If you're a project person and you've been like, raring and ready to go, you're starting to sleep more at night, and you're like, I want to get stuff done. This can also be a fun time to start something bigger. For me, like I started a podcast when I had my 3 kids, 4 and under, and I had a baby. But it was my 3rd baby, so it was less crazy-ish than actually that's not true. But it was my 3rd time, so I kind of knew what was going on. And that's when I started my podcast. So if you already know what you want to do, this is potentially like one of those good seasons. Just carve out some time for yourself and start moving forward on something big. Now, these are ones where I didn't know where I was going with it. So, and you also might not know. And so this is also, I want you to think of this goal setting time as something as exploring. Like if you came to motherhood young, you might not know exactly what you want to do yet, or what you love, or didn't have a career or a job to go back into. And so this can be a time of great exploration, just trying to figure out, what do I like? And so your goals in this time might be a lot of exploration goals. You might be filling those cracks of your day with new things. You might try making new things, or experimenting in the kitchen, or learning new laundry systems, on the home management side. Or you might do things like start a podcast, or a side business, or an Etsy shop. Like, this is a fun time to explore and try these new things. Now, one of the things that can be good when you're creating goals is to recognize you can have multiple goals and multiple domains, because I kind of in my brain break it up where these are the things that I can do while the kids are sleeping, and these are the things that I can do while the kids are awake. So the kids are sleeping goals are often things that are happening on the computer. The things that are typically happening on the computer, things that involved high thinking, if you want to write a book or do poetry, or, any of those like high thinking, I cannot be interrupted right now. A lot of those happen, when the kids are sleeping. And then the other domain are things that you can do while the kids are awake. If you want to learn how to build furniture, you can do that with the kids awake. I've built so many things with little kids around. That's become just part of our family culture, or exploring can be with the kids. Because here's another thing that I also want you to start thinking of when you're coming up with these goals, especially in this segment between kids are awake, kids are asleep. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like in these early years, the kids are with you a lot of the time. Whereas when they get older, that's not the case. But when you've got these early years, they are. And so think of your goals as things that you can do with your children. You can have goals that include your kids. Your goals don't just have to be about you being by yourself. And I think that is something that took me a little while to figure out. So your new things can include goals like getting together with other moms at the playground. If that's like, a new, like, we just want our goals to help you be a little bit uncomfortable. We want to help you get in that growth zone. And so this is growth zone. Think about it with you and with your kids when they're asleep and when they're awake. Now, the Thriving in Motherhood Planner, this is a great time to answer those workbook pages, but also adapt them for you. I, talk with moms that are like, I want it to be just right. Like, I want to answer it just right. Like when I was in school, exactly what it says. I want to make sure I understand it thoroughly and answer it the right way. It's not a wrong way. You can customize this. So if there's a spread if like you're reading this, I'm like, I just can't figure out and I don't see why this is helping me, then just skip it. You can also send me a message and I'll tell you the point of it again. And I've also tried to talk through it in the course. But like, if you really are just like scratching your head and it just doesn't feel like it's working, it's okay. If it doesn't resonate with you, just move on. But there are so many things in there meant intentionally to help you mine for gold, to be able to find what's relevant to you, to find what would help you, what's interesting to you, what's exciting to you, help you find gaps about who you want to be. And so really, we're just trying to, in this season, create a vision of what you want your life to be like. And then your goals are going to help you create, like, that's going to close the vision. We're trying to get there. And so often this exploring time, you're just trying to really figure out what that vision is, hence the exploring. So that's where we're heading. When you get next to you've got multiple kids that are starting to get into that school age, whether you're homeschooling them, whether they're in public school, or they're in lots of activities, life starts to feel really full and busy. And you can start to feel like there's not space for you in your days, differently than when maybe they were little kids, because you were with them all the time. So it felt like there wasn't space, except at nap time or when they went to bed early. But as they get older, it's like they really can be with you all, like, late at night, during the day. You're running different activities and schedule. If you're homeschooling, that might be all morning or into the late afternoon. And then you've got social things and you've got more that you're coordinating. And so when I ask the question, like, what are you excited about? What do you want to, like, do this year? What are your big goals? And you're like, I wake up and I hit the ground and I'm running until I fall in bed at night. That's a very different season. Now, I still think it's really important and can be done to carve out space. And so, I talk to moms, this is a good time to go back to school for some of them. They find like, okay, the kids can kind of take care of themselves now. So now I am going to start doing something that's bigger for me, like going back to school or like starting a business. That's a lot of time when a lot of moms start. Or we're, getting a job, working outside of the home. Those are possibilities. But I think another principle, especially when you are like, things are full and you are moving a whole bunch of people at a full rate, and the schedule is full, the question is, instead of what are you excited about, because a lot of times you feel like, oh, my life isn't exciting. And one of the moms just said to me, like, maybe I have to get a new life. No, you don't have to get a new life. What it is at the root of it is, what do you want to see progress in this year? Because it's the progress that brings that feeling of excitement. And so if you're in a season where you're like, I don't have any more time to add more, then don't try and adding more. What are you already doing that you want to see progress in? What do you want to get better at? What do you want to be more efficient? And then make that your goal and be excited as you see that progress and that growing and that growth. And it brings more meaning to doing the laundry or to delegating doing the laundry. It brings more meaning to cooking meals with your children. It brings more meaning to reading books together, or, maybe finding the books that you're really excited about reading with them, that you like, in areas that you want to learn and grow. Just, to bring more excitement to, let's say, your homeschool days. Or if they are into sports, maybe you have a skill that you're going to bring along with you to work while they're at practice on the bleachers, right? We have to get maybe a little bit more creative about when we work on our goals here. Actually, you always have to be creative about when you're working on your goals. But at the same time, we have to be intentional about where we want to grow, where we want to see that progress, where we want to see that growth in our own lives. So that covers a good chunk of motherhood, but a nod to the empty nest years. Now, this is the one that I have not lived, but I have actually talked with quite a few moms through this stage. My mom just went through this stage because my youngest sister's 10 years younger than me. And so for a long time, I had kids and she had kids at home. But as she went through this transition, and as I've talked with other moms in this community that have gone through this transition, it seems like it feels a whole lot like when you first became a mom. And it's kind of disorienting because you are back at the very beginning of trying to figure out, what do I want my life to look like? I have no idea. I haven't lived this way in a long time. And so for those moms, for my mom, for the other moms that I've worked with, going through that Create Your Vision section as a clean slate and applying a lot of these principles, maybe not that survival mode in the sense that you are floundering because you don't have, you're not like taking care of little kids anymore. But in a way it can feel that way because it's kind of aimless and directionless when you don't have that same sense of, full schedule, full sense of purpose all day long. And so it takes some time to create that. And so you'd go again, maybe back to that period of exploration. What matters to you right now? Where do you want to put your time and energy into? And what is meaningful to you? And again, like as I've watched that trajectory, like as my mom lived it while I was living it, I felt like we were living parallel lives the whole time as we were both reestablishing what life looks like for us in our new season. So now principles that apply to us all, to all moms and all seasons of life as you're trying to set your goals this year. I just want to give a few more general tips and announce something brand new. So what we're doing in the most basic sense is you're creating this vision of what you want your life to be like, who you want to be, and it doesn't have to be something brand new and grandiose, but it has to be something that you own, something that's important to you. Now, those goals are going to get you closer to your vision. So I feel like at the beginning of the year, a lot of people are setting these New Year's resolutions. Go to the gym every day, eat a certain way. I don't know. It all feels so arbitrary, right? Like just these things that everyone starts at the beginning of the year because. I don't want you to set your goals that way. Instead, we're going to set things that are very intentional and directed at what you care about. So even though because I think we have all of these shoulds about what our goals should be, and that's not necessarily the case. It's definitely not the case. So set a goal, set something for you, and make something important to you that helps you be the person you want to be, or do the thing that you want to do, and have it be something that gets you uncomfortable and into a zone of growth, and then start working towards that. And the beautiful thing is that it can be teeny and tiny and really small. In fact, last year, when I was setting my goals, I decided instead of doing really big goals, I would focus on every month doing a tiny little micro habit, something that would make a difference in my day-to-day life, but not be this like big, huge opus of a task. I was feeling kind of burned out after a few years of doing really big things and needed a switch. So I did it as an experiment. And what I found was that these little tiny habits, these little tiny goals, made a huge difference on how I showed up in the rest of my life. And my capacity for doing bigger things, even just my life well, has increased dramatically by doing these tiny little habits that make a ginormous difference in my day-to-day life. The other thing that I didn't anticipate was in this experiment of these little tiny micro habits, what I was really discovering was a whole list of things that were in my circle of influence, even when things were hard or crazy or chaotic. Some of you may have heard this story, but years ago when I was pregnant with my third child, I was struggling with all the things that were going on because it was a very hard pregnancy. I was sick. I had a hard time walking. My husband was in grad school. We were trying to get ready to move across the country. There was a lot going on. And as I was sitting down talking to my friend and complaining about how horrible and hard life was, because that was one version of the story, she simply said to me, well, that sounds like your circle of concern, which is a concept from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People with Stephen Covey. And I was like, you're right. And she goes, well, what's in your circle of influence? And then she got up and walked away to take a phone call. And I wrote on a piece of, found a paper plate, drew on that paper plate, and everything in my circle of influence that I could think of was to smile and to eat. That was the only thing I could think of. And she came back and she said, that's a great start. It'll grow. Well, it took me years to understand how it would grow. It did grow over time, but it took a long time for me able to see clearly what those things that I had control over were. Because so much of motherhood, I feel like, feels out of control. You can't control your children or the choices that they make, and that impacts day-to-day life, even if it's, whether it's the temper tantrums on the floor from 3-year-old or, depression that happens when kids are older. Like, we just don't control so much, right? And a lot of our time and energy goes into loving and caring for all of these people that impact day-to-day life, but we just don't control. And so what I discovered over time was that I could control little things that help me show up a little bit better in doing and loving and caring for the people I love and doing the things I needed and wanted to do. And those little micro habits could be things and were things like not having my phone in my room at night, or at least way far away so I could not touch it until I really actually wanted to, or drinking enough water in a day. Okay, little simple things that made a big difference and also gave me that sense of control in a healthy way because I was making progress and taking care of myself so I could take care of someone else and other things that I wanted to do and not just run into the ground and get totally burned out. So that brings us to guest principle here, which is what are some micro habits or a micro habit that you could be working on right now that gets you towards your goal and towards your vision? Could become one of your goals. Whether you are in that exhausted newborn phase or you are in the, toddler preschool phase or in the I've got my kids in school phase or in the empty nester phase. This is a wonderful exercise for all of you, for everyone, for me, because it is something that makes progress. And this has been written about in Atomic Habits and the Power of Habits and Design Your Life in a book called Tiny Habits. It's been talked about all across the board in all these different, books. But it really is true. It really is powerful. So after a year of experimenting with that in my own life, I am starting something brand new. It's called the Mom Matters 2 membership. And what it is every month, we're going to work on one tiny micro habit. Now, I'm also going to start out, when you sign up, you're going to get access to a couple of things. One, it's a mini course about how to establish these micro habits in your life. And if you are someone that you're like, I'm just going to print out a chart and check it off and go, I'm telling you, if that works for you, great, bring your chart. But if you're not a chart person, that is not what I'm talking about. That is not what makes a successful habit, especially for us moms, because I feel like it's a little bit different because we come from highly interruptible lives where things are very different. And so we have to think about setting up habits differently than people that don't have so many wonderful people in their lives and so many high demands on our lives and for our time and energy. So there's that. The second thing is every month I'll be releasing another little lesson for a specific habit. Now, these are habits that I feel like are tiny commitments that give you more than they take. So I'm not going to say set up an entire morning routine. I think an entire morning routine is lovely, but that's not the type of micro level. We want to go smaller than that. So little things that make a big difference to your taking care of your mind, body, soul, or space, because we got to do a whole episode on those. But mind, body, soul, or space that help you be able to take care of yourself so you can keep taking care of others and the things and the people that matter, most to you. And also leave time for you to do your own vision, because I don't want this to usurp your own vision or replace that. The other alternative is that if you already have a clear vision and you already know what tiny habits work for you, like you know what makes a difference in your life and you just need to start doing them again, then you can take your own and apply these principles that I'll teach in that main part of the course so that you can add your own in. And then there is a community off Facebook, brand new platform, that will help us all stay connected through this. And so every month we'll be able to share the one that we're working on, and it'll be different. Some of us will be doing the same and some of us will be doing different. That's great. As well as we'll be talking through all these different principles and helping you get set up for success and celebrate with you with the progress on the way and troubleshoot when things aren't working so that you can make it work for you and tailor it to your specific situation. So there's that community aspect. And then another component is, as more of you are joining this Thriving in Motherhood community, we've been talking for 6 years here on the podcast. And so that is a lot of life and experience covered in so many different seasons. And so a lot of you are coming and it's like so excited to jump in, so excited to like get your feet and bearings in motherhood and to get out of survival mode and start thriving and what we call soaring. And it's like hard to know where to start. And the reality is everyone's in a different spot and needs to start in a different place, which is fantastic. And so I'm creating a quiz that you can take right when you join the membership, and it will help you get connected with a course, which is we're taking 6 years of weekly podcast episodes and putting them into courses with targeted objectives so that wherever you're at in motherhood, like whatever the things that you need to or want to work on right now that'll help get you along that path of surviving to thriving, you can jump right in just getting that specific inspiration. So you're not like hunting up and down the iTunes list trying to figure out what may or may not be relevant to you right now. So you'll get, just to recap, we'll have that quiz that you can take to start getting that targeted help with wherever you're at in motherhood and with whatever specific goals you're working on. We've got the little guided course to help you learn how to set up micro habits well in your own motherhood so that you can take care of yourself well. And then we'll have, especially like if you are a new mom who has never done this before and you don't know what makes a big difference, or if you're, a mom, even just like a mom with all the kids in school and you haven't had time to think about it because you just have been surviving this whole time trying to make it through. These guided habits will just be, they're like tried and true, research backed. They will help. So that if you don't know where to, you're like, if I would have done it, like if I knew what to do, I would have, but like I don't, right? So these will be the things that can help you, whatever season you're in, start to gain some traction, and just make things a little bit easier. So that is kind of, I guess, if you want to join us, we would love to have you. We're doing some fun things to start. This is only a $7 a month membership because I want this to be attainable and accessible for all of you. And I just bought Christmas candy, and a bag of chocolates was over $7, which was shocking. So this might require a sacrifice of a bag of chocolate, but I would love to have you. I want it to be accessible. And we're getting started. I don't know how long we're going to offer this, but when you join, you are going to get 3 buddy passes so that you can have 3 friends join at $1 a month for the first month, so they can get a $1 a month trial. So the 4 of you together can get started together on this, because while I absolutely love the value of online communities, and also we'll have other channels. So whatever mini course you're taking, whatever you're working on, we'll be able to have conversations about those things. I absolutely love that. And I also value in-person relationships a lot. So I want your in-person relationships to come along so that you can do this together, because I think it's really fun. And the final thing is that I have created things that go along with podcast episodes, things like the scripture songs that I sing with my family, things like the Habits for Kids workbook, things like, I don't know, there's other things. And currently they're just like sold on one-off little links that you can get on those specific episodes, but I'm going to put them in there as well. So any podcast episode I do that has supporting material, we'll put it into that membership community as well, which is really fun. So if there's things that you want to have created or have questions about or are working on in that community, you'll be able to ask for it, and that'll help also create some more just targeted content to help you with where you're at. So that is something new that we're adding to the Thriving in Motherhood podcast. I don't know how we can help you in 2024. So I hope that as you sit down and get through the end of this episode, that you take a moment and first just kind of look at where you're at, work through the Create Your Vision section in your Thriving Motherhood Planner, or on the course on its own. You can get that at thrivingmotherhoodpodcast.com/vision. But create some level of vision for yourself, whether it's just that one word intention of who you want to be, or it's a whole long list of projects of what you want to do, or try exploring, or a big goal like writing a book or going back to school. And then come up with targeted goals that are going to help you get there by degrees. Now, I have way more to teach you about this, which is what the Made to Soar Next 90 Day program is about, to help you get way more done in the next 90 days than you did all last year with your personal projects and goals. So if you're curious about that, you can check that out too. Links below. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you more next week.
Where you are planted, watch the blossoms grow.